You'll be hearing that tomorrow with On Point here on WUSF 89.7 Tampa, your spot for local and winner of the 2025 Edward R. Murrow National Award for Overall Excellence, in part because of our commitment to community service. Hi there, I'm Lisa Peaks. Appreciate you tuning in today. Well, New College is going through a growth spurt. You can learn more about the development plans and also share your views on the subject.
At WUSF, support comes from the people who listen, like you. Also, Sarasota Scene Magazine, supporting more than 125 cultural charities and foundations in Sarasota County. They engage through content. Scene covers a wide range of topics in print and online. Learn more at scenesarasota.com. Sarasota Ballet presents Notes Unspoken, accompanied by the Sarasota Orchestra, featuring Gemma Bond's world premiere and more, January 30th through February 2nd at the FSU Center. Tickets at sarasotaballet.org.
The Sarasota School Board just passed a vote affirming the school district's cooperation with law enforcement, including ICE. The vote came after 7 hours of emotional public comments and protests. I'm Matthew Petty, and today on Florida Matters, live and local, we're talking about what happens when immigration enforcement is allowed into our schools. What do you think about this decision? Are you concerned about your child's safety, or what they might witness while in math class? Or is the undocumented immigration problem serious enough that federal agents need to be in schools? 813-755-6562 is the number to let us know. You can also email us, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. And later, the Tampa Bay Rays may actually be coming to Tampa. The team has entered a memo of understanding to begin developing a plan for the new stadium. The details coming up in about 30 minutes. That, plus your calls on Florida Matters Live and Local. First, these headlines.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Nora Rahm. In a speech at the World Economic Forum today, President Trump continued to insist that the U.S. purchase Greenland from Denmark. NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben reports.
Trump framed the U.S. as entitled to Greenland after helping defend Europe in World War II.
So we want a piece of ice for world protection, and they won't give it. We've never asked for anything else, and we could have kept that piece of land, and we didn't. So they have a choice. You can say yes, and we will be very appreciative, or you can say no, and we will remember.
Trump said he won't use force to take Greenland, though he pointedly also said the U.S. military would be unstoppable in trying. Trump rambled to many topics, at one point declaring the 2020 election rigged, as usual without evidence. However, he eventually covered affordability as originally planned, including policies to boost homeownership and cap credit card interest rates. Danielle Kurtzleben, NPR News.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine needs unity from the U.S. and Europe to push Russia into ending its nearly 4-year full-scale war. NPR's Joanna Kakissis reports from Kyiv.
Speaking to reporters through voice messages, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said only united pressure from the U.S. and Europe can force Russia to end its war on Ukraine. I really want America to listen to Europe, specifically through diplomacy, he said, speaking about Greenland, a self-governing part of Denmark. Zelensky said Ukraine supports Denmark's sovereignty and territorial integrity. He also confirmed that President Trump had invited Ukraine to join his so-called Board of Peace, but did not say Ukraine would sign up. He expressed concerns that the council would include Russia, as well as Russian ally Belarus. Joanna Kakissis, NPR News, Kyiv.
The Department of Justice has issued subpoenas to several public officials in Minnesota. It's investigating whether they are obstructing immigration enforcement. Residents of the state are on edge. NPR's Sergio Martinez Beltran reports from Minneapolis.
It feels like there are agents everywhere, and you can see them in residential neighborhoods, the bus stops, parking lots. And two things are notable here. One, some businesses are losing money big time. Medical care has also been affected. Dozens of Minnesota doctors in a news conference yesterday said patients afraid of being picked up by ICE are staying home. They say pregnant women are missing prenatal visits. They worry about ICE and patient privacy. And one doctor said a mom was afraid to seek care for her baby who was having trouble breathing for fear she'd be detained.
NPR's Sergio Martinez Beltran reporting. This is NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive, with small business insurance for protecting a variety of business types with multiple coverage options, designed to fit business owners' needs. More about small business insurance is at progressivecommercial.com.
You're listening to WUSF 89.7. I'm Craig Kopp. The Sarasota School Board has passed a resolution saying they will cooperate fully with ICE. As WUSF's Nancy Guan reports, over 100 people protested the largely symbolic move on Tuesday.
After more than 5 hours, the school board passed the resolution 3-2 along party lines. Board Chair Bridget Ziegler drafted the resolution after a fellow board member spoke at an anti-ICE protest. The move doesn't change district policy. It simply reaffirms the district's protocols for complying with law enforcement agencies, including ICE. But opponents say the decision sends a strong message. Omi Patel is a junior at Pineview. He's one of many students who skipped class to speak at the meeting.
This proposal does not improve student safety, and it does not change district policy. What it does do is bring one of the most polarizing national issues into a place where it does not belong.
Only a handful of the more than 150 people
area were targeted by charter schools who are asking to use extra space in their buildings for free. Superintendent Kevin Hendrick said in a video message, the coming changes are
rooted in the realities our county is facing: a declining school-age population, legislative changes regarding school building use, and ensuring that every student has access to strong, sustainable schools.
A law passed last year expanded the definition of what are known as schools of hope. Now, under this new law, charter schools can target any public school with low enrollment. I'm Craig Kopp, WUSF 89.7 News.
Florida passes laws that impact your job, your vote, even your weekend. Your Florida gives you the facts on what's happening, why it matters, and how you can speak up. Follow the story and join the conversation, because this is your state too.
Foundation for a Healthy St. Petersburg is working to create a community in which all people can lead healthy lives, regardless of race, celebrating 10 years of impact. Learn more at healthystpete.foundation.
This is Florida Matters Live and Local, sponsored by Badawi Law. We're broadcasting from the doctors Lorraine Rubis and Neil Frankel studio at WSF in Tampa. I'm Matthew Petty. Well, yesterday, as you heard just a moment ago in the newscast, the Sarasota School Board voted 3-2 to reaffirm the cooperation with law enforcement, including Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. Over 150 parents, educators, students, and community members showed up to protest the decision, saying it doesn't help the learning environment.
Why am I here at 10 a.m. on a school day? Why am I missing class? Because when meetings are moved from 6 p.m. to the middle of the workday, student and parent voices don't disappear by accident. They are filtered out. And I'm here anyway. None of this has anything to do with my education, not test scores, not classrooms, not teachers, not student success. What does it have to do with? Shifting schools from a place of stability and consistency to a place that mirrors the fear that is currently echoing throughout our nation.
And that's the voice there of Alessandra Smith, one of the people who spoke up at the meeting. She's at Riverview High School. Well, WSF's Nancy Guam was there to chronicle the hours-long ordeal. We'll be talking to her in just a few minutes. I want to hear from you as well. Were you at yesterday's Sarasota School Board meeting to raise your voice, or do you support school districts working with immigration enforcement? Tell us why. The number is 813-755-6562. You can also email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Here now, let's get a perspective, though, from the west coast of the United States on how parents and teachers are responding to ICE enforcement there. We're joined by Zadie Stavely, reporter with EdSource, which is based in California. Zadie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, just to start, I wonder if you've been paying attention to what's been happening in Florida. What would you say about this notion of a school board reaffirming its support for cooperation with ICE and saying they'll punish educators who interfere with immigration enforcement. I mean, as a journalist, that might raise some questions, but is that the kind of thing you're seeing play out in your coverage area?
No, not at all. In California, the state just passed two laws that require school districts to um, pass policies that basically make it clear that they are not allowed to let immigration officers into the school without a judicial warrant signed by a judge, and that they have to notify parents and teachers and school staff if they see federal immigration enforcement agents at a school. And so basically, schools actually over here, I've seen many school districts passing resolutions that reaffirm that they will not comply unless required by law.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, though, what are you seeing in terms of the amount of federal enforcement that you're happening around schools? If ICE officers aren't actually going onto school property, like, are you seeing them outside of schools? Like, what's happening in the stories that you've been covering?
Yeah, that is definitely happening. Last January, the Trump administration got rid of a policy that had previously been in place where schools, hospitals, and places of worship were basically safe havens, and the immigration enforcement was prohibited there. And after that, we have seen some immigration enforcement near schools. There has been some immigration enforcement near a school in Oakland. There's been several incidents in Los Angeles. In San Diego, late last fall, there was a situation where a father was detained outside of an elementary school while he waited to pick up his child. And after that, the superintendent spoke up, the principal spoke up and said that they did not believe that this was a good idea. Basically, what school leaders are saying in California is that they're concerned about this for two reasons. One is that they're worried that families will stop coming to school to drop off their children because they're afraid of being detained. And so attendance and will drop. And they have seen that in some cases after incidents.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other concern is the mental health part of students, right? And so several teachers have told me that they have seen a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety from students about whether or not they're going to see their parents when they leave school, and just in general about the immigration enforcement they've been seeing.
If you're just joining us on Florida Matters Live and Local, we're talking with Zadie Stavely, who's a reporter with EdSource in California, talking about how schools are responding to ICE enforcement action over there. Also kind of talking about what's been going on in Sarasota here in Florida. I want to hear from you too. What do you think about the idea of school districts working with immigration enforcement, and why? The number is 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can also email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. And a point you made just a moment or two ago there, Zadie, about the kind of impact on mental health. We are hearing some of that raised as concerns from folks here in Florida. And if you've got concerns about it too, give us a call, 813-755-6562, talking about the level of cooperation that school boards should have with ICE and other federal enforcement agents. Want to hear your thoughts. You can email us as well, of course, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Now, you had a story, Zadie, last week in EdSource about Oakland parents and teachers who start their mornings on the lookout for ICE patrols. They've received training originated by day laborers on how to respond if they see a patrol. Can you sort of talk through what that involves and what the thought process that from your reporting, what makes parents and teachers willing to kind of put themselves out there and organize like this?
Yeah, it's not just happening in Oakland, it's happening also in other cities in California, Los Angeles, San Diego. Teachers and parents are either driving around neighborhoods before school starts and checking to see if they see federal agents. Or in the case of Oakland, parents are teaming up, taking shifts to stand outside schools in the mornings before, during drop-off, and in the afternoons during the pickup time. And basically, they are just standing there looking trying to see if they see federal agents, and then they have, a plan in place where if they do, they contact the school so the school can take make a decision about what they're going to do, whether they're going to lock down, notify parents. And also they start, their plan is that they would start blowing whistles to notify people in the neighborhood that the immigration agents are there, and start recording agents from a distance. They say that they're not interfering with law enforcement. The reason why these parents have chosen to do this is because they're very concerned about the classmates of their own children and the rest of the people in their community. They're very worried that this is going to affect access to education. And, they think it's a right that all students in the United States have to go to school,
regardless of immigration status. We've got a call coming in from Dan. Dan, you're on the air. What are you thinking?
I'm extremely upset about the idea of ICE coming into the schools and terrorizing children and teachers. They got enough problems as it is. I don't think ICE should be armed either, and I don't think they ought to be hanging out outside of schools or hospitals.
Can I ask, Dan, do you have kids in the school system anywhere in the Tampa Bay region?
Yes.
So you worried about your schools, particularly your kids' schools?
I'm worried about all schools, but yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, terrorizing is a pretty strong word to use. I'm sure the folks on the other side would say, look, they're just doing their job and they should be supported. Do you not agree with that?
I do not agree with that. I think terrorizing is not anywhere near strong enough. When you come in and kids don't know whether they're going to be able to come home and their parents still be there, or them coming into the classrooms and they're not being trained properly. I also would point out that the Obama administration actually deported more people than Trump is doing now, but he didn't do it. He did it legally and without terrorizing people. You can do this without terrorizing people.
Dan, thank you.
Absolutely,
yeah. Thank you so much for your call. I appreciate you weighing in. I want to get to another call, though. We've got Victoria calling in. Victoria, you're on the air.
Hello. I attended and spoke at the school board meeting in Sarasota yesterday, and I just wanted to kind of repeat what I said there, that allowing immigration enforcement into schools violates multiple Supreme Court cases such as Ployler versus Doe, Brown versus the Board of Education. It violates the 14th Amendment and our own Florida Constitution, Article 9, Section 1, which puts the responsibility on the state to provide a safe, high-quality learning environment for all students, regardless of immigration status.
Yeah.
Victoria,
I appreciate you making a point. I just want to put this to our guest, if I can, and we've got to go to a break, but thank you so much for calling in. Zadie, real quick, I mean, that idea of a safe learning environment, I mean, in 30 seconds or so before we go to a break, what are you seeing in terms of the impact in your neck of the woods over in California?
I think that teachers are basically saying that they are not able to teach if students don't feel safe. And so this is one of the reasons why teachers are going out to help families get groceries, to help make sure that ICE is not near the schools, is because they're worried that they cannot actually teach kids if kids are worried about their parents being picked up.
Zadie, thank you so much for your insights there. If you can stick with us for a little bit, some more questions coming in from our listeners. We're speaking with Zadie Stavely, reporter with EdSource based in California, about the impact of immigration enforcement on education. Going to talk about what that looks like here in Florida and some feedback from our reporter who was at that meeting in Sarasota at the school board meeting yesterday. Stay with us on Florida Matters Live and Local and keep those questions and comments coming in. 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can also email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Much more to come in just a moment.
Listener support powers WUSF. Funding also comes from Seitenbacher, with a new web shop. Healthy muesli, cold-pressed oils, and vegetable broth mix delivered to your door from right here in Tampa Bay. Details at Seitenbacher.com. Seitenbacher. Seitenbacher. The Museum of Fine Arts in St. Petersburg is proud to present the electrifying art of the Baroque master Caravaggio. Experience the drama and intensity of Caravaggio's world with over 40 stunning canvases. More at mfastpete.org.
Still holding on to a car you don't drive anymore? Give it new purpose this season. Donate your car, truck, or boat to WUSF and help keep trustworthy local journalism strong. It's easy, and it may mean a tax deduction. Call 866-WUSF-CAR or visit WUSF.org.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty. Well, as you've been hearing, in a 3-2 decision yesterday, the Sarasota School Board reaffirmed its commitment to cooperate with law enforcement, including Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, even though it was a resolution, which means it's largely ceremonial. It mattered to many of the people who showed up to speak out against it. And here to break down what happened at the 5-hour or so ordeal, what it all means, is WUSF reporter Nancy Guan. Nancy, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And also with us for the first part of the show is Zadie Stavely, a reporter with EdSource based in California, talking about the impact of immigration enforcement on education on the other coast of the United States. Nancy, you were there for the whole thing, and it seemed a lot of people were against the resolution. Just kind of describe the mood if you could.
Yeah, so protesters showed up at 9 a.m., an hour before the school board meeting actually started, and they were there to rally outside of the board building. So it was loud. There were chants, and people were really energized. There were a lot of students who missed class in order to protest or speak during the board meeting. Parents and other community members were there too. Inside the boardroom, though, people kind of had to stay quiet. Generally, you're not allowed to cheer or boo, disrupt the flow of the meeting. And it went on for hours, like you said. More than 150 people signed up to speak, and most of them were against the resolution. Instead of clapping, the crowd would kind of raise their hands and shake them in the air to show their support. If they didn't agree with something, they would show the thumbs down sign.
Yeah.
So that's how people were kind of able to quietly express their opinion for 5+ hours.
Yeah, and let's just hear a little bit of that. Here's Jordani Del Rosario, who's a Booker High School student. We're going to hear that sound in a moment. But actually, let's, before we do, perhaps we could go and hear from the chair of the Sarasota School Board, Bridget Ziegler, who was the person who proposed this resolution, the school board member who proposed this resolution in the first place. Let's just take a listen to that.
What we do not need is, whether intentional or unintentional, this demonizing rhetoric sends a dangerous signal to our students, which I believe was heard loud and clear today, fostering a lack of trust in authority figures, including law enforcement. It can lead young minds to question the legitimacy to those who protect us, and potentially breeding cynicism or defiance that disrupts the learning environment.
All right, and let's see if we've got that piece of sound from Jordani Del Rosario. Oh, it's a quote. Okay, it's a quote. My producer's telling me it's a quote. So let me just kind of read a little bit of it. Jordani said, families are hearing threats of mass deportations, increased surveillance, and expanded enforcement powers. That fear does not magically turn off when a student walks through the doors of a school. So a little bit of a flavor of what was said. We heard from another student earlier in the show too. I mean, is that kind of the sense you got from what you heard yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people against the resolution, they had called out the resolution for being this more symbolic move, and a lot of people criticized it for being a political stunt. So again, the resolution itself doesn't change any school policy. It's simply a reaffirmation of existing protocols of the district, how they would comply with law enforcement, including ICE, if given valid warrants and all of that. So because it was more of a symbolic move, protesters believe that it was unnecessary, and that by passing it, it was sending the wrong message to the community. And, going back to Jordani Del Rosario, the student from Booker High, she said that when a school board adopts this type of language centered on enforcement, it sends a message whether that's intentional or not.
Yeah. Well, if you've got thoughts about yesterday's Sarasota School District meeting, passed a resolution reaffirming its commitment to cooperate with ICE. Maybe you're a student, an educator, or a parent. You can weigh in by calling 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562, or email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. We're talking with Nancy Guan from WUSF, who was at that school board meeting yesterday. Also with us, Zadie Stavely, reporter with EdSource, based in California, who's covering this issue on the other coast as well. Zadie, before the break, we just heard from a listener who cited a Supreme Court case, Plyer versus Doe. Not sure if I'm getting that correct, but is that something you're familiar with, that Supreme Court case? And how, if so, how does it sort of inform what we're seeing play out here and in different parts of the country?
Yeah, that was the Supreme Court case from 1982. Basically, the Supreme Court decided that, ruled that states can't deny students a free public education based on their immigration status or their parents' or guardians' immigration status. Since then, some states, including California, have tried to pass laws that would deny enrollment to students who did not have legal immigration status, or laws that would, require teachers to report their status to authorities. All of those laws have been struck down by courts as unconstitutional. So, yes, this is the case is Plyer versus Doe, if anyone wants to look it up.
Yeah. Okay. Any legal scholars out there want to do some digging and look into that? And we did hear from a listener who was citing it as well, so people sort of schooling up on it. But if you have some thoughts about the notion of ICE enforcement in or around schools, want to hear what you think about it, 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. Nancy, I understand that there are some. I wonder if you could sort of talk about the existing ICE or law enforcement protocols. I mean, just kind of cooperating is a pretty broad term. So what does that actually mean in effect?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's criticism that's been brought up a lot, including during the board meeting yesterday. What does it mean that school and staff have to cooperate or not interfere with ICE? Most districts have policies in place that outline how they handle all law enforcement, and that includes ICE and other federal agents. And it generally states that, ICE agents or police or any other law enforcement officer needs a valid legal order or like a subpoena or a warrant to come to campus. And we haven't seen ICE show up on campus yet, I think, in Florida, though there's been reports of them being in the community and in neighborhoods and detaining people that way. We saw Border Patrol clash with Minnesota students and staff. And I think that possibility and the way immigration enforcement is coming down so heavily, that's stirring up a lot of worry for people in the community. And that's why a lot of people are asking, maybe we need more guidance, specific guidance to how to handle these situations.
Yeah, Nancy, I mean, it sounds like the sort of flavor of the meeting, at least the public comment part of it, was pretty much all on one side. But did you hear from anyone sort of speaking up and saying, look, we do need to kind of get behind law enforcement agents and they're just doing their job, let's support them?
Yeah, exactly. A few people did speak in support for the resolution, and I think just to kind of give that context, the resolution was brought up originally by Board Chair Bridget Ziegler, and she did that after board member Tom Edwards had participated in an anti-ICE rally. And she and other board members, and I think some folks in the community, took issue with some of the stuff he said during that rally. He had condemned the killing of Renee Good, a Minneapolis woman who was killed by an ICE agent. And he had also brought up the existing protocol surrounding ICE if they were to ever show up to campus. So, he said that it requires a warrant, but he said that he doesn't trust ICE, and that's why the resolution was brought up.
Well, lots more to discuss here, but we are going to have to leave that conversation here for now. We've been talking with WUSF's Nancy Guan. Also with us this hour, Zadie Stavely, reporter with EdSource, based in California. Nancy and Zadie, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, coming up next, a closer look at the plan to bring the Tampa Bay Rays to Tampa and build a new stadium there. What do you think about it? Give us a call, 813-755-6562, and stay listening to Florida Matters Live and Local. We're back in a moment.
You tune in to WUSF for all your favorite NPR shows. And for a list of when you can hear them, visit WUSF.org. WUSF is your spot for local, on air and online.
Funding for WUSF comes from listeners like you, and also Badawi Law, offering legal services in personal injury, immigration, and auto accidents, with offices in Tampa, Florida. Office information and practice details at BadawiLaw.com, or learn more on Instagram at Badawi Law. The Ringling presents the Kavita Shaw Quintet, exploring her original compositions and arrangements of jazz standards and music from around the world. Performances will be at The Hat on January 23rd and 24th. Tickets at ringling.org.
Arts, music, culture, all in one place. Explore it all at artsaccessflorida.org. That's artsaccessflorida.org.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty. Well, the Rays are batting away to a new home. Potentially, last night the Rays and the Hillsborough College District Board of Trustees voted unanimously to approve a non-binding memorandum of understanding with the team. This allows them to pursue a partnership to redevelop the college's approximately 113-acre Dale Mabry campus in Tampa, in a project that would include a new stadium and mixed-use development. Here's how Rays CEO Ken Babby sees the plan.
This whole conversation today is more than just building a ballpark. We're talking about building a district in a community that's going to bring $34 billion of economic impact to the region. We're talking about 12,000 new jobs. We're talking about rejuvenating a college and creating a workforce development program, and oh, by the way, also creating the future home of Major League Baseball in our region.
Well, with the Rays set on moving across the bay to Tampa, there are a lot of questions, including what will happen to the students at Hillsborough College. College President Ken Atwater said it will strengthen the college's role as a civic anchor. He calls it a, quote, transformational opportunity for the college and, above all, for the students.
A project of this scale and vision creates new pathways for learning, workforce development, internships, and career-connected education that directly benefits our students, faculty, and staff.
But not all of the faculty are actually on board with that. Here's Josh Corson, an English professor at the campus. He said the average rent around the Rays' current home at Tropicana Field over in St. Petersburg is much more expensive than most students and faculty can afford.
I ask you to consider who this deal really serves. Because based on the numbers, a redevelopment deal with the Tampa Bay Rays is not in the best interest of Hillsborough Community College's students, alumni, staff, and faculty.
Well, joining us now to talk more is Evan Axelbank with Fox 13 in Tampa. Evan, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, great to see you. It's my joy to be here.
And senior writer at Sports Business Journal, Bill King. Bill, thank you as well.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And we want to hear from you. Do you want to see the Rays shift their home base to Tampa? Is it going to make it easier for you to see home games? Or are you worried potentially about what this project might cost? The number is 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. Want to hear your thoughts on shifting the home of the Rays across the bay to Tampa. You can also email us, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Well, Evan, let's kind of dig into that MOU for a moment. It involves Hillsborough College essentially giving the Rays part of its property in a long-term lease. I mean, what else can you tell us about this development proposal for this new stadium complex?
Well, it's not part of the property. It appears to be the entirety of the property. And it gives the Rays very wide latitude to determine how the project is going to be designed, not just the commercial development, not just the hotels, not just the restaurants, not just the businesses, but also HCC itself. HCC is going to need temporary facilities while the main part of the construction is going on. But once that is over, they're going to need permanent facilities, of course, and it appears those facilities are going to be in the southwest side of the current plot of land, whereas the stadium would be on the east side, the southeast side of the current plot of land. And the Rays would have essentially veto power over how HCC will be designed. They want it to fit in with the project. And so the best look at it, and we do have some renderings that the Rays have given us and given the media, is that we're looking at something akin to an office tower for the school. We're talking about 600,000 square feet of learning space. So whereas now HCC is kind of spread out in the middle of that property, it appears, this is very early, we should emphasize, that the school itself is going to be on the southwest portion in essentially an office tower where the students would have all the amenities that they need. And I think the school is really excited about it. I mean, you talk to the university president, you talk to the chair of the board, they see this as a major opportunity. We can get into that more over the chance to collaborate with the Rays and with the businesses that are going to be there. They're essentially saying, just imagine having students who are spending their days taking classes and then can go right across the street, not just to a baseball game, but to work and to get experience in the workforce at any number of opportunities there. They're expecting 12,000 jobs. So this is a very exciting thing, at least for the administrators who we spoke to. I have been on campus. Not everybody is overjoyed at this. But it's also very early, frankly, to, I think, even being able to weigh in one way or the other. There are still so many details left to go.
Yeah, a lot of details left to work out. I want to hear from you. What do you think about this? Are you excited as clearly the Rays and Hillsborough College leadership are? Give us a call, 813-755-6562. I mean, it's quite a move for the Rays to up sticks and head across the bay from their current home in St. Pete, Tropicana Field, to a brand new stadium yet to be built in Tampa on that Hillsborough College site. Give us a call, 813-755-6562, or email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Bill King, I mean, what is kind of unique about this, aside from the fact that there will be a college campus on the site of this mixed-use property? I mean, what are some of the other unique things about having a new stadium and benefits of a multi-use MLB stadium with a college kind of attached to it?
I think what's interesting about this is actually less from a one-of-a-kind standpoint, so much as something that this ownership group sees that it thinks has some potential. I think, they've been very open about pointing to what happened in Atlanta, where you had a downtown ballpark that was home to the Braves for decades, and they moved out into the burbs as part of a mixed-use development. And there was some skepticism over whether people would make that trip and how that would work, particularly on weeknights. It turns out it works quite well. Now that's Atlanta. It's not Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
There's a large body of water cutting the market in half, basically. So there's a lot of difference there. But this is mixed use. And I think mixed use, when you look at that market, when you look at how things have gone, and when you look at the struggles to find a solution, this might be about the most promising that we've seen. I mean, the reality is, for all that time that the team has been in St. Pete, it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked in spite of really good ball clubs year after year after year. And then, in fact, it didn't work well last year in Tampa when they came across into Hillsborough County. It's spitting distance from where this ballpark would be and struggled to draw 10,000 fans. So there are a lot of bigger questions about the market in general. But with all that said, I think this is at least maybe a path towards some hope with an ownership group that maybe looks at this as a real estate development and not just a ball club.
The number is 813-755-6562, talking about potential for the Tampa Bay Rays to move across the bay to Tampa. We've got a memorandum of understanding, non-binding, to kind of get this plan together and build a new ballpark complex on the site of Hillsborough College. What do you think about it? 813-755-6562. Maybe you're a baseball fan excited about this idea of having the Rays in Tampa. Maybe you're in St. Pete and not so thrilled about making that drive across the bay yourself. But either way, we'd like to hear from you. You can email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org or call 813-755-6562. Well, Governor DeSantis weighed in on the Rays Hillsborough College plan at a press conference yesterday. He is a keen baseball fan himself, and of course he, in his past, captained the Yale team in college. Let's just take a listen to that.
I look and see the Tampa Bay Lightning, like they sell out. It's like an amazing thing. You know, me growing up, I didn't know very many hockey fans, right? Almost everyone I knew liked baseball on some level. So that tells me is baseball can succeed in the Tampa Bay area. I have no doubt it can succeed. You have a reservoir, you have millions of people, and there's a high affinity for baseball in this community.
Well, if you're in favour of the stadium proposal, or maybe you think it's a swing and a miss, give us a call, 813-755-6562. I mean, what about that, Bill? The governor kind of pretty keen on this idea, saying that it's going to work, but you're saying the early indications from their sojourn at Steinbrenner Field, maybe not so much?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to point to the success of the Lightning. A sellout in hockey is less than 20,000 people. That's a bad night on a weekend in Major League Baseball. It's half as many games. The heft that it takes to sustain a Major League Baseball season and drive revenue throughout the season, the number of suites, the number of club seats, there's all sorts of reasons that make baseball more of a challenge, and particularly more of a challenge when you start talking about the logistics of people coming and going on weeknights. Mm-hmm. Again, twice as many games means twice as many weeknight games almost. Yeah. And so that's a really different dynamic than when we look at the NHL, when we look at the NFL.
Right.
Baseball's just different.
Yeah, a lot more games to think about, as you say. Let's get a question in here from Joe calling in. Joe, you're on the air. What are you thinking?
Hey, guys. Baseball fan, baseball coach, son played. I'm a sports fan. But here's my thing. I still just don't get this. How is the community held responsible for covering some of the costs and fees of a baseball stadium when a regular stadium, a venue, has multiple use? And baseball stadium is a little bit different, whereas you can usually only generate certain kinds of activities outside of baseball in that stadium, but yet the community is being kind of held hostage for tax subsidy to help pay for these basically a private facility. It's kind of like, a social arm of sports, but yet these owners it's a private for-profit, ownership that they're going to make profits. And then if the public decides to go, you're paying exorbitant parking, even off-site parking, exorbitant cost for concessions, exorbitant swag. It's just, how is that even a thing that they can come to us, the public, and ask for private taxpayer citizen dollars, concessions, anything when it's a private-owned entity and it's for profit, and these owners are making billions.
Joe,
when I got to buy a house, when I want to build a house, I have to go and get my own money. I don't go to the community. I want to put the house in and say, hey, I'm moving my house here. Can I get some help?
Yeah, Joe, obviously a avid baseball fan, and it's got some really interesting comments and questions there. And echoing, I think, a lot of what we are hearing from some folks. Thank you so much for that call. Let me put that to you, Evan. I mean, what are you hearing? Obviously, the Rays are very excited about, the college leadership very excited about it, but the question of cost, what do we know about the cost? What are you hearing from folks about what it's going to cost to build this thing?
Well, I think, first of all, Joe is tapping into this sort of age-old question. How much is it the public's responsibility to keep its ball teams and hockey and basketball and football happy? Look, it's no secret. When you look up the net worths of these owners, now I'm not talking specifically about the Tampa Bay Rays owners, the new ones, but they've got a lot of zeros after their names. And it's very hard for certain members of the public to find any sympathy for a guy worth or a woman worth $3, $4, $5 billion on how to build their ballpark. Public officials will say, well, look at all the things that come with it. A community identity, certain kinds of jobs. Some of the jobs are blue collar, some of them are white collar. Look at the prominence it gives to an area when you're on a broadcast every night. And especially now with streaming, broadcasts are not just local anymore. It gives you a national footprint. So I think that's, I don't have an answer for Joe. Some of that is about looking within yourself and deciding what you as a taxpayer want to be responsible for. I've got plenty of friends who say, taxpayers, darn right I want the raise to be here. And we should pay to make it happen. But there is, and the cost point is important here.
Yeah.
There are lots of taxpayers who don't feel that way, who say, hey, $3 billion, and I'm making up the numbers here, and I'm not talking specifically to the raise owners, but hey, $3 billion dude, you build the stadium. What do I have to build it for?
Right. Who's on the hook? Evan,
yeah,
can you hold that thought? I do want to keep the discussion going if we could. If you can hang out with us for a few more minutes. And if you're calling,
I'll
the
get
number...
to the cost there.
Yeah, if you're calling, the number is 813-755-6562. I know we've got a couple of callers on the phone. Stay on the line. We will get to your calls in just a moment, continuing the conversation about the raise, potential move across the bay. What do you think about it? 813-755-6562. You can email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org and stay with us. Evan Axelbank with Fox 13 and Bill King, senior writer at Sports Business Journal. We'll be back in a moment with more on Florida Matters Live and Local.
I'm Indira Lakshmanan. Best-selling author Jeff Kinney took his Wimpy Kid profits and built a bookstore. Now he's building all over Plainville, Massachusetts. It's a gift to his hometown.
We're lucky because my books were successful, so we're really trying to put our resources towards building a place where we can come together as a community.
Next time on Here and Now.
Join us this afternoon from 1 to 3 on WUSF 89.7.
WUSF depends on contributions from people like you. And Tampa General Hospital, the region's only academic health system. Together with USF Health Morsani College of Medicine, TGH delivers groundbreaking innovation and life-saving care. For more information, visit tgh.org. Sarasota Opera presents its 2026 Winter Opera Festival featuring Puccini's La Bohème, Floyd's Susanna, and more. These performances run February 14th through March 29th. Tickets at sarasotaopera.org.
I'm Helen Lee. I'm a WUSF Stephen Noble digital social news intern. During my time at WUSF, I've learned to write clearly, concisely, and with you in mind. Being part of the newsroom has given me hands-on reporting experience alongside professional journalists. You allow us to grow into the next generation of storytellers. Thank you so much for your support.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty, and we're talking about the future of the Tampa Bay Rays. They've signed a memorandum of understanding, non-binding document to develop a plan to build a brand new sports complex, including a stadium at the site of Hillsborough College, Dale Mabry campus over in Tampa. Want to hear your thoughts? The number 813-755-6562. Are you upset about the Rays moving? Are you excited for them to come to Tampa? Are you thinking about the cost of this thing, as we were talking about just a moment ago? Let's get a call in from Oscar. Oscar, you're on the air. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking, and I'm a resident. I used to be a resident of St. Pete, and the gas plant area, I look at what the Rays promised to the people in that area. Jobs, opportunity. They were false promises. And now they're talking about doing the same thing over in Hillsborough. You know, you're not an owner of a professional team and not have money. And me personally, I feel the Rays are nothing but a farm system for Major League. Every good player we get end up leaving because the Rays don't want to pay them.
So I'm hearing you say, Oscar, kind of a little bit of buyer beware, perhaps, to the folks in Tampa. But I appreciate your call. Thanks so much for weighing in. Let's get another one in here if we could. Anne is calling in. Anne, you're on the air.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Certainly can. Go for it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a third-generation St. Petersburger, and I hate to see the Rays leave. My brother, when he was little, I had used to hear him come home. He'd come home and talk about how he had just been down to Huggins Field and watched Yogi Berra and all of the Mickey Mantle and all of those players playing down there, practicing. And I used to go to the Al Lang Field when they had the farm team. They used to play there. It's just so wonderful. You know, we've always had baseball in St. Pete since the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hate to see it go away. They could have built a parking garage and not had so much ridiculous land use around the Trop.
Right.
But I wish they would stay. That's what I have to say. St. Pete is baseball and has been for years.
And thank you so much for your call. And hopefully you can still enjoy some baseball wherever the Rays end up. But I appreciate you weighing in. With us also this hour, Evan Axelbank with Fox 13 and Bill King, senior writer at Sports Business Journal. Evan, a little bit of a flavor of what some folks are thinking there, some kind of a bit of a warning from one of our listeners, Oscar, there, and then some sadness to see the Rays kind of make the shift across. So a bit of a mixed bag for this move potentially.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, common with a lot of issues that we see government take up. That's the beauty of America, right? Everyone, is allowed to have an opinion. I want to bring up the cost, though.
Sure.
And the point here is that nobody knows right now. I mean, there's talk that they're going to be asking for even more than they asked for on the St. Pete side, which it started out about $600 million. It ended up being, or I should say they were going to contribute about $600 million. It ended up being they were going to have to contribute probably much more than that. The cost overruns. Now, this is the previous ownership group. What I'm hearing now is people who are on the inside of the process think it could be over $1 billion that they ask for. And does doing that mean that they can that they contribute? Does doing that then mean that they can go ahead and ask for an equal amount of money? Can they ask for $1 billion now from the public?
Right.
What boards are they going to go to? Are they going to need that? Are they going to want that from certain bed taxes? Are they going to go to county commissioners? Are they going to go to the city of Tampa? It's been made very clear to me that that money does not exist certainly at the city of Tampa level, and it remains to be seen how it exists at the Hillsborough County level.
Yeah.
There probably are a lot of bed taxes to go around, but there are going to be a lot of projects, sports related, different stadiums that Hillsborough County is going to want to contribute money to.
Yeah.
And that they're going to be asked for.
Yeah.
And that was one of the right now is a major question. It has to just be said. We asked very clearly yesterday, and we don't know how much this is going to cost, how much they're going to ask for, and how much they're going to contribute.
Yeah, and that was one of the big questions, of course, around the gas plant site, the kind of back and forth between the county and city before they finally inked that deal, and then everything kind of got shredded along with the roof of Tropicana Field. A few more calls coming in here. Let's go to Ed. Ed, you're on the air. What are you thinking?
I live in West Tampa, and whenever there's games at the football stadium or concerts, traffic is horrible. And I can't imagine how much worse it would get if there's a baseball stadium there.
Right. Ed, thanks for your call. So maybe you're not looking forward to that so much. Let's go to Cole now. Cole, you are on the air. Go for it.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon. And I do have some questions for Evan, specifically about I know he kind of compared the Lightning to the Rays and how it's not a great comparison based on stadium size. I would like to bring up the ownership as well. Once the Lightning got bought, they became a totally different franchise. That owner invested so much into the community, and I think it gave back a lot to the community. And I think the stadium's a great idea. And I grew up in Seminole. I used to drive to games when I was in high school because they were so cheap. So for me, it stinks to see them leave St. Pete just as a convenient standpoint, but I would like that area to keep that team. And in my opinion, them going over the bay and being closer to a majority of the population and even a closer drive from Orlando, which I think is a big market that could be tapped into, would be a huge thing. And back to the stadium, I know you mentioned how they were only drawing 10,000 over at the Yankee Stadium over there. I think that's all it holds. And I feel like if they build a stadium on that side of the bay and they put a roof on it, you'd probably see attendance go up a little bit because it's incredibly uncomfortable to watch baseball in Florida and
it is quite warm, isn't it?
That's all I had, and I think Evan. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for the call. Evan, I want to go to you, but before I do, let me just bring Bill King back into this conversation because you have the kind of perspective of how other cities have done it. I mean, what about that cost factor? Is that always a conversation? Is there any kind of satisfactory way that teams have done it in other cities that people are happy with in the end?
It absolutely is always a conversation. It's complicated by the fact that if you're going to do this in that market, you almost certainly have to do it with some sort of roof. And so you're looking at, probably I mean, the last one that was built was 2020 at about $1.2 billion. That's just for the ballpark. That's not the additional development that's around that they're talking about around the stadium here. So it's a large price tag. But look, this is the decision that communities have to make. It is if you'd like to see how this plays out, look at Oakland. It went on for years and years and years. And at this point, there's a new ownership group and it has an appetite to go down this road for a while. But at some point, which would align, I would say, with the expiration of that lease in St. Petersburg, the rubber meets the road. And there are other markets out there where there would be an interest and an appetite. And that's how stadiums get built. That's how a stadium got built. And that's how a ballpark's getting built in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That's just how this goes. And I understand all the arguments of why maybe this isn't where a community should put its money.
Yeah.
But that is how this plays out. And it's been festering for not years, but decades at this point.
And actually, that was a comment that we heard from Ken Babby, kind of acknowledging the sort of drama that's played out for fans of the Rays, what comes next and some of the pain and anguish that goes along with it. Let's get a couple of more calls in real quick if we could. Eugene has been waiting by. Eugene, you're on the air. What are you thinking?
Yes, that's a super plan. I would love to see it right here in the Tampa area. Off of Dale Mabry. It'll be good for the merchants. But what I can't understand is the money going to be raised up regardless.
Mm-hmm.
They got ways they can find to get it. But what about the fans going inside? The ticket is what's going to bother me. I can't stand for a ticket to be $200, the lowest ticket they have. They got to lower that price down.
Right. So ticket cost a real concern there. Thank you, Eugene. And Norm, let's go to you now. Norm, you're on the air. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, new stadium, blah, 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 blah. What about the old stadium? What happens to that thing?
Yeah.
There's got to be maintenance to keep it up. Are they going to be able to use it for anything?
That's
what do you do with that thing?
That's a great question. They have now patched up the roof. It's kind of almost ready to play in again. Evan, your take on that? What are you hearing about the kind of the long-term future of Tropicana Field, and then I guess the question about ticket prices too?
I have questions about ticket prices. As someone who loves going to these ball games and hockey games, I remember paying $650 in the upper deck at Shea Stadium when I was a kid, and my dad remembers much lower than that. I mean, it's a problem, right? I mean, across pro sports, not singling out the Rays, it's a problem. Only certain people can afford to go, and I deeply mourn that fact. That is not a good thing for the growth of any game or to keep the game accessible. The question was about what's going to happen with Tropicana Field. I mean, clearly it's on the hook for at least 2026, 2027, and 2028. The question then becomes, can the Rays get it done, get the new ballpark done in time for 2029? I've spoken with people on both sides of the bay who are not convinced that they can. And so then you would be looking at another extension of the Trop lease. It's already been extended 1 year because of the lost year. So now you're on the hook for 2028 and potentially 2029. And that depends on a deal being done here. They have 6 months under the MOU to do that. If they can't, do they try again here? Do they start looking outside the market? Do they go back to St. Pete? So the long-term future of the Trop is, at least we know it'll be around till 2028. Some people suspect it'll be another year beyond that. And after that, there's not much long-term future of the Trop. Once the Rays are done with it, that ballpark is being knocked on down, and they're going to redevelop, have a chance to redevelop a lot of space in the middle of a city, which doesn't come along very often, and Bill certainly knows that.
Yeah, prime real estate. Well, I would love to go extra innings on this conversation because there's a lot more to talk about, but unfortunately, we are going to have to leave it there. But Evan Axelbank with Fox 13 in Tampa, thank you so much for your insights. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, my joy to be here. I love radio, so it's great to be with you.
Indeed. And Bill King, thank you so much for your insights. Bill's a senior writer at Sports Business Journal. Appreciate you joining us as well.
Enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Well, next time on Florida Matters Live and Local, we are checking in with local author Kristen Hare. She's working on a book about things to see in Florida. If you've got some favorites or questions about where to go, Join the conversation. That's tomorrow at noon. And that's our show for today. Florida Matters executive producer is Grayson Doctor. Our producers are Amelie Horace and Quincy Walters. Our engineers are Jackson Harp and Gio Garvin. Jackson composed our theme song, and Malika Hollis handled the video today. You can subscribe to Florida Matters wherever you get your podcast and watch on WUSF's YouTube channel. I'm Matthew Petty. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and we'll see you tomorrow at noon.
Every weekday, the world takes you outside your borders.